I'm Matt Driskill, editor of Asian Aviation Magazine and AsianAviation.com. Today we are in conversation with Desmond Lian, the head of aviation for the Asia-Pacific region at Smiths Detection, which is one of the top security screening companies in the world. Desmond, thanks for joining us in conversation.
Good morning, Matt. Thanks for having me on your program.
I'm glad you're here. COVID-19, that's the elephant in the room. It's basically brought international travel to a standstill. We've recently seen an uptick in domestic travel in places like China, Australia, New Zealand. We've seen the emergence of bubbles in certain regions. Singapore and China are talking about corridors and green lanes of people going through. Give us a quick tour of what your company has been doing to deal with the slowdown in aviation and the impact it's had, and kind of give us a quick tour of Smiths Detection as well.
Yes, Smiths Detection is definitely in impact, and we are doing a lot of things to mitigate the situation. And from the very early beginning, the company has taken very seriously all the World Health Organization as well as the local government guidance in terms of how we continue to work. And the management also taken a lot of initiative to communicate, whether through internal email or town hall meeting, to let's say educate the workforce about how to keep them safe and and keep them updated on various situations in different part of the world. And I would say that the IT department also invested very heavily in upgrading the infrastructure to make sure that we have new collaboration tool, we have sufficient bandwidth, and we have enough let's say software, hardware to allow people to work from home as much as possible.
Now, your Asia Pacific operations, I know I should be more familiar with this than I am, but is Smiths Detection Asia based in Singapore, and do you have operations all over the region?
Yeah. Yes, Smiths Detection has offices across the world, and in Asia Pacific, we have offices in New Delhi, Bangkok, Tokyo, Sydney, Auckland, and Singapore is the regional headquarters for Asia Pacific. And we also have a regional manufacturing hub in Malaysia.
And again, for people who are unfamiliar with Smiths, I mean, your products are basically the first thing they see when they're checking in for, maybe not checking in for a flight if they have to go to a physical check-in or something. But when you go through security, your scanners are looking through their bags. Give us an idea of what you see happening with the passenger experience when they hit the airport now, and what they can look forward to as flights do start to open slowly. Emirates, for example, is already screening people for COVID-19 before they even check in. But has your company run through anything about what the experience is going to be for passengers?
Yes, we noticed that in the post-pandemic airport, certain measures definitely have to be added to ensure the safety of the passenger. For example, safe distancing, temperature monitoring, and so we think that things are going to change. And to begin with, I think airport was never designed with, let's say, especially the screening hall, with safe distancing in mind. So we believe that passenger will likely to spend more time, has to be more well prepared when they enter the airport and prepare to spend more time in the screening processes.
You're in the technology business, and I'm sure, like me, you've been staying up late and listening to all the webinars that everybody's been putting on around the world. And unfortunately for us in Asia, they usually happen about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, our time. Without fail, people say that things like biometrics, contactless check-in, and similar items will be coming faster to the market. Give us an idea of what you see happening along those lines.
Yes, contactless is definitely one of the key things that on everyone's mind, as well as our company. And when we say about contactless, and in particular referencing to the checkpoint, we are talking about either touching something, a surface, or we are talking about interaction with someone, that is contact. So there are a lot of things that we can do to reduce contact or even touch-free, let's say, make the whole screening journey touch-free. So it's really a matter of whether airport want to adopt new technology, redesign the checkpoint, redesign the processes as well to enable those contactless journey.
Right. Time is what makes flying so important and essential. I mean, when you can, a long time ago, I could get on a plane and in 24 hours I could be from Singapore to Oklahoma, where my family lives and where I grew up. Obviously, you just touched on this a little bit earlier, the time factor will change just getting through the airport and getting through screening. Are there technologies out there, short of finding a vaccine, that can help passengers at least save some of the time that they're going to be spending?
Yes, time spent in my personal view need not to be a permanent feature, meaning that spending more time. It all depends on I think a key thing whether airport is willing to redesign the processes as well adopting new technology. For example, if the airport were to let's say introduce equipment that is capable of doing C3 CONOC, meaning you can now leave everything in the tray without need to divest your electronics or liquid, and it must means that you spend less time on the checkpoint because you take away the whole divestment processes. For example, body screening as well. If you were to automate certain part of the body screening processes like pat down by providing active feedback to the passenger when they do the let's say body screening, there's an active screen to remind the passenger where are the things that on their body that they need to divest, and those actually then can help the passenger to self-help to let's say remove those checked items and send it back to the X-ray and remove the need for pat down. So these are things that we can change and do to make the whole journey faster.
Well, you touched on it's a big nit that I have to pick with security screening and all that, is because I travel with a laptop, an iPad, an iPhone. My son does too, and my wife, and all of that. And when you have to take all that stuff out and then put it back in, especially when you're on a multiple leg journey going to Europe or going to the United States, it's really a pain. But let's stay on technology. And again, I thought this was interesting. Your company came up with an ultraviolet light upgrade kit for checkpoints, and you say it's capable of killing 99.9% of microorganisms on baggage trays. And I recall a study I read that those security baggage trays where you have to put your laptop and your briefcase and your coat and whatever, that they actually carry huge amounts of germs.
Yes, that is not new. I think that's because the tray is definitely one of the most touched item in a security checkpoint, and it's being circulated, let's say, rapidly, and hundreds of people are touching them each day and each hour, right? So if we don't do anything about it, that will become a weak link in terms of transmitting the virus, and people will pick it up from there. So that's why the company reacted very quickly. We came up with a UVC kit that can be mounted in a safe and manner where it's shielded away from the public, shielded away from the operator, where the tray on its return path is being sanitized. And let's say we have done our own lab test to prove that upon, let's say, passing through the tray through about a 1.4 meter UV light tunnel, we actually does kill 99.9% of any active bacteria or viruses.
Has that product been rolled out? Or people actually putting that into use?
Yes, we have already piloted a test in Heathrow, and we are now gradually rolling out let's say the kit into more airport. And you can rest assured that we are working doubly quick to make sure that those airports who need it will be getting that equipment quickly and fitted into the lane.
After 9/11, it was all about security screening and people taking off their shoes and all of this. And a lot of those procedures were implemented in sort of a haphazard way from airport to airport, from country to country. Do you see organizations like IATA and ICAO and AAPA, do you think they're working or coordinating enough on standards to help airlines and airports reopen safely? What's it going to take to rebuild passenger confidence?
Yes, I recently read some let's say article from ICAO and ACI. I think they are doing a fantastic job in actually paving the way to recovery, and coming up with recommendation that to airport what they should be doing, fine-tuning their processes. I think the key is about consistency. To me, is that if all the airport were to adopt all these measures in a consistent manner, then the passenger can expect the same thing to happen in one airport to another airport, and therefore they can be more well prepared. So harmonizing and consistency is really the key to recovering, improving the passenger confidence in air travel.
Now, you've worked around Asia all your life. I'm guessing you're Singaporean, correct?
Yes, I'm a Singaporean.
Right, and I've lived in Asia for more than 20 years, since 1989, actually. And I love the airports in Asia. I absolutely hate the airports in the United States. I just think, and some in Europe as well. But Asia has been investing tremendous amounts of money. I mean, everywhere from China, Singapore Changi, which is ranked one of the best in the world frequently, almost every year. Hong Kong Airport as well. Do you think Asian airports are better prepared to handle the changes that we're going to see coming? And, because we are going to have to redesign the check-in halls and things like that, because this is not the last pandemic that's going to hit the human race. Do you think Asian airports are better prepared, or what do you think?
I think by and large, the Asian culture is let's say, quicker to adapt to changes, in my opinion. For example, if you look at the recent pandemic, it can be going back as far as SARS to MERS, and you see that culture or society like Japan, Hong Kong, and Korea, or even Taiwan, they are very quick to react, and then wearing masks is something that they accepted, and they often feel that there's nothing wrong with that. And from adaptation of technology as well, we see that in airport like Japan, in Japan, Korea, they are an early adopter of new technology. So as they adopt, for example, tray return system, smart lane, they are actually more, in my opinion, much more well prepared to actually deal with pandemic when situation like this, where they need to, let's say, fine tune the resources and have to accept that now that the queuing time may be longer, but because they have a better baseline, I feel that they have a better, let's say, platform to actually to fine tune the processes and design.
We've talked a lot about checking in, but the arrivals process is just as important, and a lot. And again, it's right now, it varies from place to place. If you try to go to Cambodia, they're going to charge you a $3,000 fee to self-quarantine and pay for things. Singapore Changi just implemented some transit areas where they will actually force people to stay in this one area that's cleaned and all of this. How is the arrivals process going to change for passengers?
Okay, I think a couple of things can happen in the arrival process. First of all, the thing that we need to deal with is the recovering our luggage, our whole baggages. So one thing the airport can consider is to use active tracking technology, where they actually able to track the bag location, and then to send let's say messages or SMS to the passenger where their baggage is now out in the carousel, and perhaps sanitizing the bag before the passengers is able to touch them is also another thing that we can do. But so we are investigating, let's say, how can we use UVC light to actually sanitize the bag before it reaches the passenger.
Back on the technology front, when all this, and I love listening to these webinars because everybody's talking about technology and pushing things out to mobile phones. I actually know people who don't even have a mobile phone, so I wonder how all these technology changes are going to affect them. Technology is great, but what about the human factor? Because when it comes to security, sometimes the human being is better, because the computer may not, they may recognize a person's face, but the computer may not be able to see that person's acting nervous or, something's wrong, but a human will pick that up. Do you think we're relying too much on technology to solve, human problems?
I do agree that there are always pros and cons whether you rely on the computer to make the decision or the human. Let's use the example of whole baggage screening. Automatic explosive detection in whole baggage let's say screening has been used for many years, and study has shown that computer decisions are much more consistent. They doesn't suffer from fatigue, and they are always, let's say, predictable. Okay, whereas human being, we have study has shown that sometimes they make inconsistent decision. So to say that a computer, let's say, is introduce more risk, I kind of disagree. In fact, in a post-pandemic world, I think leveraging on more computer to make decision is actually necessary, because it does help us to increase the productivity.
I saw this story recently when we put it up on the website. Hong Kong Airport, they started trials with this booth for staff members to use, where you would come up to the booth, you would have your temperature checked, and then the staff member would step into the booth and be disinfected, sort of doused with whatever chemicals they were using in that, which I'm sure are safe, but which are said to kill X% of the germs and everything. Do you see passengers ever? Do you see that? Would this happen for passengers at any time?
I heard about that story, but like any other new technology rollout, I think it is important that the airport actually spend time to educate the public. For example, when we first introduced millimeter wave scanning for body scanning, we need to convince the public that those technology are non-ionizing. It doesn't affect the human tissue or cell in any way, and they are safe, and it doesn't intrude in their privacy. Same thing, I think if we were to have to introduce a booth that disinfect individual, we will have to convince and educate the public that such a routine doesn't constitute any health issue. As long as the public is convinced, I think most people will accept it, because it's for their own safety.
Now, I'm going to follow up on that a little bit. I mean, you work mainly with the airports, and is it the airports that need to do the education? Is it Smiths Detection that needs to do the education? Who does the education?
Okay, I would say that the vendor like us will provide all the facts, the scientific evidence to the airport, and the airport will have to put them up onto the prominent places where when passengers travel through the screening hall, they receive those information, or and of course vendor like us could do our own public education as well. Yes, so it's a two-pronged thing.
Finally, sometimes it sounds funny, but I try to find a bright spot to end these conversations on. And I know this is a serious subject. Nearly 400,000 people. I think we passed the 400,000 mark the other day. The industry's been shut down. Millions of people have lost their jobs. Is there a bright spot that passengers can look forward to, or airports, or the industry in general?
Yes, I think no one has prepared for a pandemic of this scale and how it affected so many people. And I think if there's a bright spot, I would say that it is the acceleration of digitization. By and large, I think security screening is not one of the industry where we adopt technology very quickly compared to other industry. But I think now, because of this pandemic, new rules are coming in, and I think airport will have to learn to adapt and to prepare for the different phases of recovery. Because if we are not prepared, and if things like physical distancing have to be in place as a permanent feature, the airport will have no choice but have to change it. Otherwise, the original capacity was designed, will not be able to cope with that kind of safe distancing, and airport operation will not be able to recover to the level it used to be. So acceleration of digitization will be the bright spot to me.
Let me ask you a question, just to follow up on that very quickly. We realize that the airports are going to have to change. The airports are going to say, well, we don't have the money because, we've had no flights. We haven't had any customers. The passengers are going to be slow in returning, so making them, who's going to actually pay for those changes? Is it going to be governments? Is it going to be, are governments going to force the airports to do it? Are they going to levy an extra fee on passenger tickets? I mean, who's going to pay for those changes?
Okay, that is indeed a difficult question. I wouldn't say that we have an answer right now, but I would say that this has to come in various phases. So it may not be something that you need to do immediately. So as we let's say observe how the volume is coming back, we should be doing step changes to the screening rather than overhaul it immediately. So One key thing, like I said earlier, is about the physical distancing. If physical distancing become a permanent feature, then I think the impact on the screening operation is very big. And we have to see whether that will go away when the vaccine is available, or it will become a permanent feature. Yeah.
Great. Desmond Lian, Head of Aviation, Asia Pacific at Smiths Detection. Thanks for joining me in conversation.
Thank you, Matt. It's really an honor to be on your program.